Well, it's summertime and Tirana is heating up. I'm Jeff. The channel's Not Dead Yet Adventures. I just left Albania, but I want to talk a little bit about cash and heat. Tirana is getting hot. Albania is getting hot. Now, what I found a few years ago is with the heat comes rain showers. And so it may show rain, 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 but it's only going to rain for a short period of time in the afternoon. But you definitely don't want to get caught out in one of the rain showers. So don't be shy about buying an umbrella, for just a few dollars, and even leaving it there or taking it with you. But I found in my daily adventures in Tirana in the summertime, the late summer, I definitely want an umbrella with me when I leave the house in the morning because it's probably going to rain for an hour or two, and you don't want to be caught in it, or just duck into a cafe, get some coffee, get some treats, get a late lunch. It's up to you. Now, cash, it is getting more expensive in Albania. The more, you know, there's no denying it, right? When I showed up in Albania in 2022, my first trip there, I pulled out some money and there was no ATM fee, and I was very excited. Well, the first ATM I went to was really scandalous. The first ATM I went to, it took out money for a balance check, it took out money for this. It ended up charging me like four fees before I even got money out. And that was a really scandalous, I ended up spending like 50, probably close to $50 in ATM fees. Just for one transaction, and it wasn't real clear. So I found Credin's ATMs at the time had no ATM fee, but now I just left Albania, like I said, and the ATM fees everywhere I went, it was, I think the cheapest I found was 600 lek, which is about $6, but with the exchange rate, Albanian lek is kicking the shit out of the dollar, to be blunt, right? So the exchange rate, that's more like $8, $7. The exchange rate's not good for the USD compared to what it was. When I got to Albania in 2022, I could go to an ATM and pull out 30,000 lek, which is about $300, right? You figure 100 lek is about $1, so 1,000 lek is about $10. 10,000 lek is about 100. Those are kind of basic terms I keep in my head when I'm out shopping, and they still hold pretty true for small purchases. You can kind of break out your money that way and think about it in those terms to keep it simple. But when I got there, 3,000 or 30,000 lek, about $300, cost me out of my bank account about $270. About 200 and about 270 was a good average, right? Now that I just left, 30,000 lek, I was just going over my records. 30,000 lek cost me $375 out of my account. And part of that is the ATM fee has gone way up and the exchange rate's gone, not well for the US dollar. And a lot of places will take euro, but the euro is even under that 100 lek to €1 mark. So the euro, for a long time, they would want to exchange with you, and they would give you, they would just round the euro to 100 lek. Well, now the euro's below the 100 lek. So when you're at shops, a lot of shops will take euro, but they don't round in your favor. And they're never going to round in your favor. That's just life, right? So what I would recommend is if you're going to Albania, I would definitely bring cash with me because you will get better exchange rates at the local money changers. Especially shop around. Money changers have a great variety. The airport is by far the worst. And I'm usually a guy who's okay with airport exchanges, but the airport exchanges are by far the worst. And if you are going to withdraw out of an ATM, make it one big lump sum because that, it was hitting me at almost $8 or $9 per transaction to make a withdrawal. It was 700 or 800 lek, which is $8 or $9. And that's not a good exchange rate, right? That really hammers your exchange rate, especially if you're making a small withdrawal. So again, my advice is if you're going to Albania anytime in the near future, bring cash with you. Bring good, clean $100 bills, or bring good, clean euros, and exchange those. Never try to travel with messed up bills. And even now, when people give me messed up bills, I'll ask them to exchange it. And even like I pulled a bunch of money out of an ATM and it was all jacked up. I immediately just walked into the bank and said, hey, can you give me better bills? Because, a money changer won't take these bills. And they kind of hemmed and hawed, and, I was persistent and polite and persistent. And, they were able to help me out. But I promise you, if I wasn't polite and nice, they wouldn't help me out. There's no reason for people to help you when you're not being polite. But I love Albania, and the cost is definitely getting more expensive. The exchange rate, which is great for the locals. They're able to buy imported stuff a lot easier. So there's always that, right? The inflation there, I didn't see a whole lot of inflation. A cup of coffee cost about the same. What I did see is a lot more places are engaging in that tourist pricing. So I experienced this the most dramatic in Poland. I went and got a coffee and a cinnamon roll over here, 300 meters away. I got a full dinner and a beer, and the full dinner and beer cost as much as the coffee and the cinnamon roll. In fact, I think it costs less, if I remember right. That was a few years ago. But to me, that's just tourist, right? Tourist pricing. So, and those were only about 300 meters apart, but it had a real high tourist pricing over here and a local pricing over here. And I see that in Albania. Like, I know a place where I can go get an espresso for about 70 cents or 70 lek, so about 70 cents in rounding, right? And then I can walk 300 meters, and an espresso is about 300 to 400 lek. Same espresso, same exact espresso. It's just the location and the clientele. So just keep that in mind, right? Be conscious of where you're buying things if you're on a budget. If you're not on a budget, just go have fun, right? Albania is a lovely place. But I would say take your cash with you. Use the ATMs as little as you can. And I'm usually the person that says, hey, just hit an ATM and pay the fee, because the fee's been more reasonable. But once the fee starts approaching that $7-8 per transaction, it really hammers into the exchange rate. And the exchange rate between the dollar and the lek is already just brutal. So, yep, that's what I got for you. Hope you have a great trip and enjoy Albania.